everybody. So thank you so much for joining us and coming to listen to us today. I do have to pre-warn you, I have a lot of dogs. So if you do hear any barking, I'm really sorry. And Andy's got screaming children, so you may hear them as well in the background. Going to do some brief introductions first of all, and then we're going to crack on with why we're here today. So we'll start with you first, actually, Andy. Do you want to go ahead?
Oh, go on then if I must. Hi, I'm Andy Boatwright. I've been with formerly the former sovereign Northampton Council and now the newly formed West Northamptonshire Council Unitary Authority. It's pretty much since 2007. I joined back then as a benefit assessor and progressed onto system administrator and then joined the digital services team MBC in 2018, believe it or not. Megan.
Thank you. So I'm Megan. I started here in 2011. I've dabbled around a bit around the council. So I started off in customer services as an apprentice. So I worked both face-to-face and on the phones. Then I moved on to management information services. So I'd done a lot of the operational management of the contact centre and face-to-face. Then I moved on to customer service management for my sins. And I was mainly in charge of our repairs process. And then I met Norbert, the love of my life. And now I'm working here in the digital services team. And that's how I'm here today. So there's still one more person that we need to introduce you to. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't be here today physically, but maybe we might be able to make that happen at the next Jadu conference. So here is our third and final member of our team. So Andy, would you like to introduce Norbert?
Hello there. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Norbert. I'm the virtual assistant for West and North Northamptonshire Council. I've been supporting customer services at the former Northampton Borough Council offices for many years. Part of my work includes me supporting the team, but providing outgoing notification templates, formerly My Council, which is still being used to this day by the team. But that wasn't enough. I wanted to do more. Some of you may remember me from 2019 here at Jadu Academy, where my colleague Andy presented the first sneak peek into how I could support customer services with voice calls. This was the first demonstration of the Mailbot technology, and this is where things got really exciting. It's been a roller coaster of learning since our last conference, so much so that we managed to turn my Mailbot demo, where I showed how I could automatically raise emails into our Jadu CXM system, into a proof of concept and a live deployment in just 9 months. Since then, I've been supporting the team more and more, triaging emails to the correct department and even responding directly to customers. We will be going a little bit more in depth about how I achieved this very soon. Thank you for coming along, and I hope to hear from you all again very soon.
So that was our main man, Norbert. Hopefully you're all able to hear that, because I don't know how tech is coming your end, but we will share the video afterwards so you can all have a little look. So moving on to the next slide. So we're going to talk to you about the first steps in Norbert's journey. So from using this technology, it's enabled us as an authority to keep the email channel open. So as you know, customers frequently use emails as a contact channel, but it does deem extremely costly, and it is quite high on resource demands. And with the average handle time that it takes to deal with emails, currently we've got about 145,000 emails coming in since we've all come together as one unitary authority. So that's a lot of emails. However, within just 9 months, as Norbert has said, we went from initial demo to proof of concept and then finally to our live deployment of this technology. And Norbert managed to prove his ability and potential in dealing with customer contact in a very busy local authority. Now, as you'd expect, the COVID situation delayed and changed our original goals ever so slightly. And it did also have quite a large impact on all of the other projects that we had ongoing. We went from 8 authorities into 2, so yeah, it's very busy. So as a council, we weren't really in a position to merge all of the services together prior to vesting date in April 2021. So therefore, the decision was made that any projects that fell within Unitary were required to comply with the safe and legal changes only. So we had to make some little changes in the way that we wanted him to work from day one. So what were those changes? So phase 1 is what we're in at the moment, and we're just at the tail end of finishing. So phase 1 focused on safe and legal. So our goal was to enable Norbert to provide a single point of contact. So that is using our contactors at West Northants and our contactors at North Northants. So no matter what sovereign or area you are from within the county, the customer is able to get their query dealt with. So this phase enabled Norbert to triage the queries and route them to the correct sovereign service area based on the location given within the email and inquiry type. Phase 2, which is our next phase that we're looking at going along to, so that brings all of our component sovereign councils together within one CRM system. And then our final phase is to start getting Norbert to respond to queries across both West and North Northamptonshire. So what does Norbert do? So this is just a very brief overview of what Norbert does at the moment. This is how it's currently working in Northampton Guildhall with our pilot that's still running, and then also for West Northamptonshire Council for that single point of contact. So first of all, email comes in and Norbert has a look to see if he can identify the location within an email or contact us form. Now, we have had to be a little bit more clever with our contact us form because most contact us forms do have a mandatory address field. But as you know, working for a local authority, your client base is always much larger than the residents within that boundary. So instead of asking Norbert to ascertain the location from the customer's address, we ask him to read the inquiry, first of all, to see if he can work out what the location is. So if he can't find the location, he will if you can't check the inquiry, you'll then check the subject line to see if there is a location provided within that. And if there is no location given, then Norbert will then send an email to the customer asking for what the location is. So that's really helpful to us because we're not having to email customers again and again asking, where do you live? So it's a really helpful tool to us now. We've got about 450,000 residents covering 4 sovereign areas within West Northants. That's not including our North Northants team as well. So, of course, having an employee triage all of this is going to be incredibly time consuming. So once Norbert's worked out his location from either the original email or any contact that he's had with the customer thereafter, he'll then go and check his database to ascertain what service the query falls within. And this is used a little bit later on in our process. And then finally, Norbert has a look in his knowledge base to see if he knows the answer to the customer's question. So our database is built upon a lot of frequently asked questions that divert either customers to our website for self-service options, or they just respond directly to their query. Now, Norbert is a lot like us humans, and he doesn't always feel confident that he knows the answer. So when Norbert is checking the database, he works out what percentage confidence he is in knowing the answer. If Norbert is more than 90% certain that he knows the answer to the customer's question, then he'll respond automatically to the customer without an agent having to get involved. And he'll provide all of the relevant information, links, etc. within the email. If he doesn't know the answer, or if he's less than 90% confident that he knows the answer, Norbert will either flag the email within our Northampton CXM system for our email hub team to review and provide a suggested response, and then our team can go in and respond appropriately. Alternatively, he forwards the query to our non-CXM users to their Outlook inbox for them to respond as appropriate. So he's a pretty clever man. He's a very clever man. So I'm now going to pass you on to Andy. He's going to go into our techie side for our tech lovers. So over to you, Andy.
Yeah, so as Megan's just said, for all the tech lovers out there, and I know there are plenty of you, this pretty much is the behind the curtain side of Norbert. Points for anybody that gets the reference there. So basically what happens is when Norbert gets an email, it's first processed through the Amazon Simple Email service. This enables basically any user to send in an email from any email application. The customer's email hits the contact us at northampton.digital address or the contact us at North Northants address, which is then passed through to an Amazon S3 bucket. This captures and holds the relevant data and the descriptive metadata that we need in order to process the queries. The information is then passed through a series of Amazon Lambda functions which contain all the code that is necessary to tell Norbert what to do with each step of the process. The Lambda and step functions work in conjunction with each other. So, for example, you've got a Lambda function's output pass into the next Lambda function's input, literally like a cascade. It creates a seamless workflow with this. And then with step functions, we can then see how each step in the workflow interacts with each other, so we can make sure that each step is actually working properly and is actually doing what it's intended to do. It's also very, very handy for error trapping if we can see where a process is going wrong at what stage. And the final part of the journey is for Norbert to pass all of this information through to the CXM database tables. First of all, Norbert checks in with the Dynamo tables, which hold specific key values that determine the final input of Norbert's actions. So, for example, if I was to send a query saying, where do I send queries about waste and recycling for people who live in Denton, what would happen in this case is it goes through to the AWS Dynamo database table, picks up that information, determines where it needs to go, and then routes it through. We use Lex mainly to determine the intents and the utterances that the customer is asking us for, and they're all keyed and linked to the individual service areas as required. Azure, the Q&A maker, is what we use for the responses which Norbert generates automatically, which you'll see in a moment when we run through the demo for you. We used Azure in this instance because it was, at the time that we built Norbert, was the easiest and quickest way of us, and the most low technical debt system that we could use. Basically, we're looking at passing this on to customer services as business as usual. So we wanted something that non-techie individuals could quickly and easily update. And CloudWatch we use for monitoring each step of the process. So if there are any errors anywhere along the way, we can always go in and check what's going on by looking at the logs. So with that said, I'll now pass you over to my delightful colleague, Megan, to have a look at Norbert in action.
That's the nicest thing you've said about me, Andy. So, demo
probably
time.
Got something to do with the 20 quid you slept me before we started.
So, demo time. So, hopefully we won't have any issues. So, I'm just about to share my screen with you all. So, hopefully you can all see my emails. Hopefully nothing rude comes along whilst I'm doing this demo for you. So I'm going to show you what it's like from both a customer's point of view when they're sending in an email, and what it also looks like in our back-end system. Obviously, we've got it all going through our UAT at the moment. So the first email that I'm going to send, quite a standard one that I think a lot of us receive across our councils. So I'm going to ask the question, I need to report some fly tipping. So that's going through now. So as Andy said in the last slides, at the moment it's going through all of those different steps. So it's going through our Amazon SES, it's going through Lex, it's going through the Dynamo database. So he's doing lots of things in the background to get this to go through. So if I now go into our cases, apologies, I've just got to re-sign it in. So here, I believe, is my email that's just come through. So you can see at the very top that the status is currently closed, but we're just going to go down. Oh, maybe it's not that one. Sorry, I'm getting a bit overexcited. Let me just refresh. Here it is. So here is my email that's come through into our Jadu system. So if I just scroll down to the bottom, and I'll just explain step by step what Norbert's doing and what's going on at the moment. So we scroll down here, so you can see at the very bottom here is my original email that's come through. So it's actually took my first name and surname from my email account. Now, interestingly, we actually haven't included this in addressing any of our customers, because whilst we were doing our trial run, we noticed that some people put some very inappropriate names on their email accounts. So we made the decision not to address customers from the names that they use in their email accounts. It also captures my email address that I've used, and also the subject that I've used in my email, and also the inquiry details of my email. And we can ignore this bit. We'll speak a little bit more about this as we go on. But Norbert's just checking this just to see if there's any documents that we've included within our email. Obviously, I haven't updated the email since, so this hasn't changed. And then we've also got an original email on here where we include everything within the email trail. So if a customer's forwarding an email, you'll be able to see all of the correspondence within the original email. And then this final bit at the bottom is just what we use for our reporting. So it's actually identified that this is a district query. So it's actually for Northampton rather than unitary. So that will be counted in our reporting as a district and rather than a unitary query. So if we scroll up a little bit, so you can see up here, you've got service area, street care services, waste recycling and grounds. So this is where Norbert's checking our database. So he's checking our Lex system, seeing whether my utterance, I need to report fly tipping, is within that database, and then bringing back the intent or the service area that that utterance is for. So he's made the decision that this query is for our street care services team. Now, the next thing that we do, which I find really exciting, is that Norbert actually likes to work out sentiment value. So he reads your email and tries to work out, is this customer really angry? Are they really happy? Are they a bit of everything? Or are they neutral in the middle? Now, in this instance, he's neutral because he's just asking a generalised question about fly tipping and about our services. So Norbert has classed this as a neutral sentiment. Then moving on up, this is where Norbert ascertains the response that he believes should be sent to the customer. So Norbert has suggested the contact response of, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Please use our online report it to online at this address, and the form will ask you for full details to enable us to action this. It will also give you, as I advised in a couple of slides before, his response. So in this instance, Norbert was 94% certain that he knew the answer to this question. And thank God he has. He has responded to the customer and he has closed the case. So now if I jump back into my emails as a customer, you can see that I have now had an email. I've been given a reference number, which I can use at any point. And Norbert has automatically responded to my email with the exact same response that he's provided. He's made me aware of what my original query is and confirmed that if I have any more questions, that I just need to reply to the email and my case will be reopened. So that's Norbert responding to a case. So now I'm going to show you what happens if Norbert doesn't know the answer to a query. So for my second test, I'm going to moan about bonfires. So I'm going to send this email through now. So again, it's going through all of our database tables. He's doing all of the checks. And I'm now just going to go back to our home screen and find our case. And we'll give him a couple of seconds and he should be sending it through to us. Need a bit of hold music, don't we, for live demos?
I'm on the up and even if you want.
Go on then, you can do that for me. Here we go. So you can see at the moment the status is a little bit different. So it's at awaiting location confirmation because Norbert's now trying to ascertain the location. So I'm just going to go through the bottom again very quickly for you. So you can see my first name, my surname's on there, my email address, my inquiries come across saying that my neighbour keeps having bonfires every week. It stinks. This time, rather than it being street scene, Norbert has ascertained that this is actually for our environmental health team. So that will go into their queue to deal with. Now, this time, rather than it just being a neutral conversation that I'm having, he's ascertained that I am quite negative. I'm not very happy. So that's good. He got that right because I'm not. And then here is Norbert's suggested response. So he's said here, thank you for your email regarding bonfires. You can find general advice on bonfires in auctions and gardens using the link below. If you'd like to make a complaint about a nuisance bonfire, please respond with your name, address, telephone number, and please remember to include the address of the bonfire. Now, in this instance, he was only 81% certain that he knew the answer. So Norbert hasn't actually responded to me. So instead, what he has done is he's popped it into a waiting review. So that's for me to go in and to respond to the customer. Now, because we're covering 4 different authorities, we've got 4 different sovereigns that we need to be aware of. So luckily in this instance, it's a Northampton. So it's come back through to me for me to respond to. So if we just go up a little bit, he's now confirmed that he's transitioning to the local process because Northampton is using Jadu to respond to their customers. So if I now just give this a quick refresh. So I now, as a customer information officer, have the option to review the case, and I can actually now go in and respond to the customer. So I'm just going to quickly go in now just to show you what it looks like. So it keeps a track as well of everything that's going on. So at this point, if I just wanted to close the case without responding, I can do, but I don't think this customer would be very happy if I did that. I also have the option to forward an email to another service or department. But as I want to deal with this query, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to review the case. And we do ask our team just to do a little bit of a review as well, just to make sure that Norbert has got everything right. So if at this point Norbert's got the sentiment or the service area wrong, once this is changed, we'll actually get a notification at our end so we can go in and train Norbert to get it right next time. So as Norbert has suggested a response, I'm ever so sorry about the dogs barking in the background. So as Norbert has suggested a response, he's automatically pre-populated it into our contact response. So I don't actually need to write anything, so that makes my job a lot easier. And then we ask the question, how useful was Norbert's recommendation? So in this instance, I'm going to say that it was usable. Finally, it asks for me to pop in the agent's name. Now, what's really good about this is a lot of our agents don't always feel comfortable with using their names, especially because they live quite locally. You could use any name under the sun. I could put my name as Mickey Mouse and the system will still record that I have dealt with the query. So that's really helpful. And finally, I'm going to say that I'm going to close the case because I think I've dealt with the customer's query. So I'm just going to close the case and change the status. And that's it. Job done. Query responded to. So you can see now that the system is now updating. Now, because I've used Norbert's response, it's not going to advise what the response was because we have already used Norbert's response, which is down here. And you can see now that I've put on here that the recommendation was usable. Here's my name, case is now closed. So if I now go back into my emails, you can now see that, first of all, I got an email to confirm that my query has been passed over to somebody to be dealt with within 5 working days. And I've just received another email saying, thank you for your email regarding bonfires, blah, 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 blah. So I have not had to really get too much involved in that because Norbert's helped me out loads with that one. Moving on to test number 3. So this is an example of what it looks like when we're sending a query to non-CXM users.
Just sorry to put in there, Meg, but I'm just concerned about running short of time. So I think we need to drop the last couple of examples and move on to the last couple of slides in the deck.
Not a problem. I'll do this last one then, just to show you what it looks like from a sovereign council point of view. So I'm sending an email now to say that I live in Cooknow. So that should, fingers crossed, come under South Northants. Now, hopefully, it will go through and we can see that Norbert will forward the email over to our team. So if we give it a second, give them a quick refresh. Give them another quick refresh. Maybe another. Come on, Norby.
The vagaries of live demos. Don't you just love it?
Here we go. Here he comes. So, case is created. So, hello there. We live in Cooknow and we require some additional bins. So, I'm just going to give him a quick refresh again. And then give him a couple of seconds. So what he's doing now is he's checking our databases in the back end. Now, rather than it being Northampton, I would hope this time that he'd pick up our area, which is Cooknow, and he'll link that to South Northants. And then what he's also going to do is have a look in our database table for South Northants and for the service area that Norbert believes the query needs to go to, and he's pulling the right email address for the query to go to. So we'll give him one more refresh. Slowly but surely. And there we go. Sovereign Council South Northants. He's slowly getting there. Now he's confirmed that he's sent an email to me to confirm, and I don't know if you heard my PC just go in then, so I've just got an email to confirm that my query's been received by South Northants. Now, it has got my email address on it because it is a test system, but you can see that it's gone to our South Northants team and he has ascertained that it's for district waste. So that is our lovely Norbert sending it over to South Northants. And if I just quickly pop over to my work emails, this is what our lovely Sovereign team see. It says, "Dear Sovereign Council, this is the query that we've received. It's been automatically closed on our systems. This is the customer's email address. Please can you respond as appropriate?" So unfortunately, we weren't able to go through the full demo, but Andy and I have got to do a review on how Norbert is working at the moment, and we're going to do some videos for our team. So hopefully we'll be able to share some videos with you after on that.
Thank you, Megan. That was really helpful. The exciting world of artificial intelligence, where we get to deal with dog poo, fly tipping, and
honestly, it gives me such thrills at the dog poo.
It's all the exciting, sexy subjects, isn't it?
Indeed. This is just a very brief snapshot of the benefits that Norbert has brought to us since we implemented his technology back in September last year. So as you can see, one of our biggest achievements is getting those emails from Outlook to Jadu. It's made reporting so much easier, and it's a lot easier for staff to use because we're almost using Norbert's responses as a template, and we've actually seen much more of a benefit of Norbert suggesting a response. So it's been really helpful to us. So since moving emails onto Jadu, we've seen a reduction in the average handle time across the board, as well as it being a quicker and easier process for our staff and customers to use by getting those queries dealt with first time. So prior to Norbert being implemented, it took nearly up to sort of 10 minutes per email to complete. It does vary from service to service, but since Norbert's implementation, we're looking at around 5 minutes per email, which is brilliant. And it's enabled us to use that agent time in those areas that require that additional care, rather than dealing with those silly queries, as we call them, that could be dealt with online. So historically, we did receive a lot of emails that didn't provide a lot of trail. And if we had any investigating that we needed to do, it caused a lot of trolling through a lot of emails and searching and finding all of the missing pieces. But now that we're able to provide customers with a single point of reference, it makes things so much easier for us. It's extremely user-friendly and it's available 24 hours a day. So if you want to know how to get your benefit claim processed at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you send that email, Norbert should be able to get that answer for you without needing an agent to review or even respond. So he's done us very proud. So Andy's now going to give us an overview quickly on the future of Norbert.
Thank you, Megan. So very, very quickly, the average current handle times, as you can see, with Norbert assisting with queries, is basically even with providing a detailed response there, as you noticed in the email, in the demo, that we're looking at a massive reduction in the amount of time that it takes a customer service agent to deal with an email inquiry that comes in. So we're looking at hopefully a total of about 430,000 savings over the next 3 years for both the two unitaries once this project's fully rolled out. The technology has been created with the intent to develop it once and deploy infinitely. And basically what we're looking for effectively is a multi-channel is the future goal. So we're looking at chatbots, SMS, voice bots, Alexa, face-to-face, and maybe even looking at Sumerian host through Amazon as well as a possibility. So effectively the world is Norbert's oyster. So once the databases have been completed and filled, and we can use his intelligence to access it through pretty much any device that the customer wants to approach us from. So no matter how you want to contact West Northants or North Northants, Norbert's going to be there, giving you the right and quickest answer every time. Thank you very much for everybody for attending today. Hopefully that's been interesting for you. Thank you for having us.